This is AndyTube, and this is the first video in a new series about Stella, the Singer Model 237. And in this first video I called the 7 screws method of cleaning a Model 237. And I'm making this video because I'm still getting several requests from people who are asking how to clean the machine without dismantling so many parts off of it the way I do when I restore a machine. They're not interested in that, or they don't feel comfortable doing it, or they physically can't do it. So I thought about it with this new machine, and I came down to 7 screws was what I thought was the minimum to be able to get access to everything and clean it. So that's what this video is about. The first thing, of course, that I would recommend, there's no screw involved, but you need to remove the slide plate here. Now mine's going to come right off because the spring is broken here. These side tabs should come out beyond the side of the slide plate, and they go underneath the edge of the opening, and there's a raised part up here towards the end that the spring catches on to prevent it from sliding all the way off when you open it. And because mine's broken, it comes off, but if yours is not broken, you can go underneath, lay the machine on the back, and just stick your screwdriver in and gently pry the spring open a little bit to get past those stops. And you can do that very easily without breaking the spring or anything. You don't absolutely have to do that, but it's going to be easier when you get this machine into the shower, bathtub, or bucket, or however you're going to do the main cleaning. Since I'm down here, I'm going to go ahead and remove the bobbin case. I don't have a bobbin in mine, but I am going to remove that so it exposes more of the bobbin case cup. Then let's get started on the screws here. There's one screw on the nose plate, or the end plate of the machine right here, and it is a screw, slotted lefty-loosey. It's not excuse me, it's not a thumb screw, but of course we're going to take that off because not only do we want to clean the dirty little thing here, but we need exposure to all of these parts to get our cleaner and brush and so forth in there. Okay, now the next 3 screws are all up on the arm cover here, and there's one up here off center above the needle bar area, and it is right behind the adjusting thumb nut for the presser bar. So we just, same thing, slot a screw lefty-loosey, loosen that up and take it out. There's 2 more screws at the other end I'm going to show you. When those screws are taken out, you can just lift the arm cover straight up, and just watch it when you pull it over this thumb nut. It tends to catch on that a little bit. The other 2 screws are back here. See if I can get up. Oh, good. They're back here on the end. Now usually there's just 1 screw back here on the other Singers that I've done, but this one they put 2 here. I think maybe it's because the bobbin winder mechanism underneath is right in the center of the machine. So anyway, we'll remove screws number 3 and 4 right back here. And as I said, then we're going to lift this straight up and off. Oh, 1 screw I didn't loosen enough. I thought I did. See if that'll do it. Straight off. There we go. And watching that presser bar thumb screw in the front. There. So I'm just going to tilt it over to drop those 2 arm cover screws out. Put those aside. This is the top. The little pigtail wire thread guide is just pushed right in. The bobbin winder tension disc and guide, there is a screw here that holds the mechanism in place here if you'd like to take that off. And this is the bobbin winder stop. It's out of adjustment and loose, but it's just a screw right into a metal plate that's inserted here. And both the covers I just took off are plastic, and they can both use a good cleaning. We'll put those aside. So that's 4 screws. Let's go down here and we're going to remove one of the bigger screws on the machine, and it is a screw, but it can be in there pretty firmly. So if you don't have a large enough screwdriver, or it doesn't seem to want to loosen, you are welcome to put a wrench or socket on there. And it is that big. So this is a motor bracket mounting and adjustment screw. There's a screw and there's a washer on the back of it. I'll show you that. So you don't want to lose the little washer. Now, the motor bracket and motor are all kind of attached here, and the cords are attached. You can't unplug any of these cords. They go into a little space below the bottom of the motor here that's like a little compartment where all the splices are. But once that screw is removed, you can lift the whole assembly up a little bit so that you can just slip off the motor belt from the pulley. Okay, and we'll set that aside for a moment. Now with that off of the pulley, you can just slip the motor belt off of the top of the hand wheel, and you can take that off and put it aside. Now screw number 6 is for the light fixture. There's a little bracket on the light, and it screws right into the back of the body, similar to how cute the 99K was. And the wire goes down here below the motor to the same little kind of what I'm going to call the splicing compartment, and it cannot be unplugged either. So we'll investigate the motor at a later date, but you want to get this off of the machine, and it's just the one slotted screw right up there. And what I like about this, when I looked at it before, was there's a kind of a crimped washer or something on the back that when you take this off, it prevents the screw from falling out of the bracket. And I like that. I thought that was a good idea, because that's going to make it easier to put back in. So you can see the little depressed area that bracket fits into. And here's a little closer look at the little washer on the back side and the screw. So now you've got the light, the motor, and the wire that goes to the electrical outlet, and the wire that goes to the foot controller. Everything here is all removed from the main body. So I'm going to be removing that. So let's see, 1 in the front, 3 on top, 4, motor, 5, light, 6. The last one is the stop motion stop screw, because I do want to take off the hand wheel. So in this stop motion, there is a small screw that actually is called the stop screw. So when you turn it left, it stops on that raised pin of the washer. So you just take a small screwdriver in there, and we'll back that screw out. It's a nice chrome screw. You see this on dozens of models of Singer when they had the chrome knob and a little chrome screw. Don't lose that. And then we'll take off this stop motion knob, which is sometimes also called a screw. Okay. And then there's the stop motion clamp washer that's going to come off. So we have that. Now we're going to pull the hand wheel, and if it doesn't want to pull off towards you, just kind of wiggle it, you know, as you go. Twist it, wiggle it. There we go. And it's heavy. Remember now, it's a very heavy metal machine. 28 pounds for the whole machine. So don't drop it on your toe when you pull it off. Okay. Now, if you saw any of my other cleaning videos, you know that I would be going a lot farther than this on my dismantling. You know, I would be taking this off. I would be taking the needle thread tension unit off, the needle bar, the presser bar, some of the zigzag controls, the bobbin winder brackets, maybe the feed regulator and system. But I'm not doing that on this one, not for the cleaning. So what I'm going to do now is do some pre-cleaning before I take it into the shower. I want to work on the worst areas up here where there's grease and grime and dried oil, and pre-treat it. So I'm going to set up some plastic and so forth to protect my workbench from the chemicals, and then I'll come back and we'll start the pre-treatment or pre-cleaning, and I'll show you the chemicals and supplies I use for that. Okay, I'm getting set up here now to do the pre-cleaning. I've got a couple layers of plastic. I just use garbage bags to protect my workbench from any water and chemicals here. And this is the chemical I use. If you haven't seen my other cleaning videos, this is Krud Kutter. This is like the original cleaner and degreaser. This brand is owned by Rust-Oleum, and I think it's about $12 a gallon here, and you can dilute it, which I will be doing. There's a very, very heavy greasy spot I see in the machine, so I'm going to pour about a little bit of 100% solution into a cup for that area, and then I'm going to mix about a 25 or 30% solution for the other parts inside. Now, Krud Kutter, especially at stronger concentration, will dull paint, and so I don't like to leave it on there very long. When I clean the outside of the machine and go in the shower, I can use anywhere 10 to 20% solution, and I kind of spray the outside body last so I can rinse it off. But as far as leaving it on metal, if you use 100% on aluminum, after some time it starts to affect the aluminum. But I've never had any problem because it just degreases and cleans so quick. It's pretty much get it on there and wash it off and dry it. And speaking of drying, don't get ahead of me on this if you're not familiar with this method, because once you use a degreaser like this, you're stripping the metal down to, all the grease is going to be off, all the grease and oil. And even though you dry it, you can start to get flash rust. So what I do immediately after the main wash and dry is put sewing machine oil on all the metal, everywhere, except any gears, which I put grease on. I have other cleaning videos. You can go to my home page and you can go to the playlist, and you can see other models I've done, and I've done extensive videos on just the cleaning. So I just want to warn you, if you jump ahead of me, it's fine, it's okay with me, but you know, if you've washed it and cleaned it, I really suggest you get a light coating of oil on all the metal, especially maybe even inside the body, because these are more iron and steel machines than when I do the aluminum slant needle machines. Okay, so there's the cleaner I will use. Here is some of the little cleaning tools. I use some wood barbecue sticks to scrape out heavier grease concentrations in areas. I also just use an old Swiss Army knife if I have to scrape stuff off. I'll use that. I use some bottle type brushes to get into tight areas. I have a couple of metal detailing brushes. One is brass and one is steel. These were like 2 for $1 at the dollar store. These were the same. I've got old toothbrushes. I've got a long handled lint brush if I need to get the liquid inside someplace. And I sometimes use an interdental pick, but a viewer commented about using a pipe cleaner or a fuzzy stick, and if you have little holes you want to get some cleaner into. So I'm gonna try that maybe this time. We'll see. So any kind of brush, you know, some areas are big, some are very tight, especially since we didn't take a lot of parts off of this. And then sometimes I'll cover the bed of the machine with a plastic bag in case I drip a lot of the cleaner. I don't want it sitting there for 10 or 20 minutes. In this case, I just have an old t-shirt, which I use a lot of because they're absorbent, and then I just throw them in the washing machine with all my other dirty rags from my cleaning. And I'm probably going to grab some paper towels too, and then we'll be ready to start the pre-treating. Okay, let me scoot away a little bit here. The nice thing when you're taking the hand wheel and the nose cover off is I've got the machine standing up on the hand wheel end here, and I use an old piece of 2x4 to support it and maybe get it at an angle I like. And what I'm going to start with this, because there is some heavy old grease in here. I can see it in this area around and underneath the width, the stitch width assembly, and I want to get as much of that thick old gunk out as I can. So you're going to see me start doing that at first. Let's see, like here. See that? Look at that big old glob of grease that isn't greasing anything. So, yeah, I forgot my paper towels. Let me grab one here to wipe that off on. So, you know, the Krud cutter works very well, but it's really not meant to be used on grease that's a 1/4 inch thick, you know. Look at that old stuff there. So when I go around and look at the machine, anything like that, I want to try and get out and clean out as much as I can before I use a brush. Because if I spray that with the Krud cutter, or I use actually a little paintbrush to paint it on with, and then start scrubbing it, it just kind of thins it and spreads it all around, so it's just harder to get out of there. And if there's stuff that gets very hard in there, I'll use the knife blade to get in there and scrape that out too. So that was the worst of it. I know it's kind of hard for you to see in there, but if you decide to do this, you'll see what I'm talking about in there. This isn't too bad, really. The grease was put in there, or attempted to be put in there. Underneath all the rods and the pieces you see there, kind of on the bottom of the arm, I see a lot of caked up grease too. So I'm going to try and get in there and scrape that out. And once I get all the loose stuff that I can scrape, then we'll come back and go to the next step. Okay, I've done a lot of the heavy stuff there. You can also, I was able to get inside and wipe down a lot of that base and get some of the stuff off in there. Since all the parts are still in here, you can still move the stitch control, stitch width, things like that. You can still kind of move stuff around and get the grease out as best as you can there. Get some, especially that heavier grease. There is kind of a worm gear down in there. I hope to be able to show you later in the series. I'm just going to put my see, I should take off the press for it. I'm going to put this old t-shirt down here on the bed just in case it does start dripping through. I don't want to leave it a long time on that bed. But I have my 100% solution I'm going to start with. And I don't think I showed you these, but I got a couple of like watercolor brushes, inexpensive, Walmart or Target or someplace. And I use that to get the cleaner exactly where I want it to be. And around where all this heavy old grease was put and has been here for years or even decades, I want to get that right onto those parts and get them started cleaning. Okay, and only the very, very heavy stuff do you normally need the full strength Krud cutter. I mean, you can use it on the whole machine if you want. It's up to you. I guess I'm more frugal than that. I'm going to rotate that arm a little bit by turning the shaft just to make sure that I get a little bit of that cleaner on everything. Okay, I'll put that aside, and this is somewhere around 25 or 30% solution, and I'm just going to go through and brush the arm and the metal and the shafts and give it a general application in here to start working on getting all this old dried up oil, dirt, crud, I guess you could call it. Maybe that's why they call it Krud Cutter. Kind of get it around in there. And you're going to see later that I take the whole thing in the shower and spray it with a solution of about 15 or 20%. Now the stuff comes off paint and plastic really quick, so you don't need a real strong solution of this for that type of cleaning, you know. Whoops, I'm spilling a little of it here. I need a bigger workbench, I think. Now I'm going to see if I can get some of my brushes down in here and try and brush along and above and below where all that heavier grease has been in there, because I really want to loosen it up and thin it out, and so when I do my general cleaning and then rinse with a heavier spray of water. Hopefully all that stuff will come out. Now when you do more disassembly and all this stuff is open, this pre-treatment really is just kind of like gears, and where you see for sure dried up oil, things like that you want to give a little extra attention to before you take it to give it a cleaning or a shower. Actually, this round brush is getting in here pretty good. Let's see. I don't really see anything in here I'm going to need my metal brushes on. I'll just go with the toothbrush around that shaft and the slots for, see if I can tilt this a little more, maybe you can see in here. This did not get a lot of oil in its life from what I can see, because usually I see drips of it and all built up, and you know, it's so old and dried up it looks like varnish, and it can act like varnish and be real hard. But this didn't have a lot of oil, I don't think. So I think that's going to do me for the top end here. So let's see if I tilt this up again towards the, and set it more like that where the hand wheel would be. Any extra is going to drain down towards that end and go down the upright shaft and onto the plastic. And look, if you want, you can take a spray bottle with a mixture of this, and you can use that to apply it if you want. You know, if that's easier for you to do. You don't have to use like the little paint brushes and stuff like I do. By the time you do one machine like this, you'll develop your own techniques, and you may have a cleaner that you like better, you know. So and that's great. The main thing was, like, the first machine like this I ever did, I used about 2 quarts of 92% alcohol and what was a 1,000-piece package of cotton buds, you know, like Q-tips. Whew. And I said, man, I gotta find a better way to do this. So now let's see how we can turn this over. Oh, here's some that has run out. Can you see this dirty water with the cleaner in it that has run out on the plastic? And that's very common to see all that. That's why I put down the plastic. But you can see just putting it on and lightly brushing it how much of that stuff it's got off already. Now let's come up here. You know what? Can I get this tilted even more here? I'm a little leery of this machine because it's 28 pounds and I don't want it to fall off the bench. Maybe I can raise my maybe I'm going to try and raise my camera tripod. Okay, I'm going to try this then. See, where's my 30% solution here? Whoop. Yeah, I got to hang on to this, I can tell. So this may be a good place to use the sprayer instead. I've tilted it at this angle with the hopes that it runs out. You see, I've kind of got it tilted way back on the nose. And see, let me get some up here on the needle bar and the presser bar and the lifter. Try and get some up on top of those bushings so that it'll go down in there And I've got all the take-up lever mechanism here, the joints of that. Okay. Let's see if I take that sprayer and just spray in there a little bit. Okay. And get one of my round brushes here. This is the bigger one. Let's see if I can get it in here. It's a little too big on that side. Let's go over here. That works better. I'm interested to see just how clean I can get this, because I've always disassembled most of these parts, or many of the parts, so I can get in here a little bit better, you know. And I'm probably going to be taking parts on and off afterwards and showing you how they work and how to adjust things. So we'll get deeper into the machine when I do that later, and we can kind of see how well this method worked. Okay, I think that's it for the nose. What I want to do now is I'm going to turn this all the way down, because I want to kind of turn the machine upside down. So it's going to be setting on the bobbin winder post and this post. Well, maybe I won't need to do that. Let me turn it around, and because we want to do the same kind of thing on the bottom end, right? Maybe if I prop it back like this. A lot of this I'm doing just so that you can see it better. See, that's not sturdy, but if I hold on to it here, you'll be able to see it. Now I'm going to open up the race just like that, and I'm going to pull what they call the shuttle out. Just lifts out like that. That's where the bobbin case sits on, and the little the hook is still in there. Okay, let me put that aside. In essence, for time, I think I will just give this a little spray under here. This may, this you can see it's dry. It just never had a lot of oil. So this may not even be a required step. I might just have been able to go right into the shower with it and sprayed it and rinsed it off. But just to show you how it works, because you may have a lot of dried up oil, and you never know what kind of oil you're going to find. I found all kinds of oil, and 3-in-1 oil, and all kinds of greases and vegetable oil, graphite powder mixed in with the oil and grease, which really makes a mess. Let me tell you, don't ever use that. But this is really in pretty good shape. Look, you're going to be surprised. There is a lot of oil and dust and stuff like that, like a film, just junk from what, 48 years, this particular machine, so that's why I always do it. And if you have a machine that was around a smoker, it can get pretty nasty, especially when the thing gets warmed up and going. You might be surprised. And some of the motors have like little fans that suck the cigarette smoke and cigar smoke and whatever in, And depending on where this thing has been stored, you could have animal urine on it, and insect, spider webs. If you want to see one of the worst ones, take a look at my YouTube page and look for 347 for Jen. And one of the first videos of that series was called A Mouse House with Rust, because mice had been living there and eating the oil pad and doing their thing in there, and whew, boy. So this really just kind of needs a light going over with brushes and the Krud cutter. Thinking that's starting to look pretty easy to me. So I will open up the thread tension unit, turning it left as far as it'll go, and you know, I want to. I think the pin, or I think the plastic thing is broken anyway. That's why I usually take this apart. But I want to turn it open as far as I can, because I want, you know, in the shower or tub, I'm going to spray this with cleaner and blast it with water to rinse it. Okay, let's see how much of this I got on the body. I got some leaking out here. Not bad. I go ahead and dry that up so it doesn't hurt the body anymore. And this I don't want to leave. I wouldn't pre-treat the plastic and stuff, because it can kind of dissolve the lettering off of there. A quick spray and rinse, you know, spray with the cleaner and then rinse is going to be enough to clean it. Don't leave it on there a long time, and don't use a real strong solution either. Okay, let's see if I can move this to the side here, and I'm going to get ready to take it into the cleaning. Yay. Let's see what we look like down here on the plastic. Let's get some of this and wipe off my 2x4. Yeah, I wish you could smell this. It does smell like old oil and dust and dirt and grease and stuff, but I guess you can see, even with just this little bit of pre-cleaning, how much gunk has come off. And just from dipping my brush in this and the machine and back into this, you can see it's starting to get darker. Okay, so let me go set up to do the main cleaning, spraying with the Krud cutter, and then rinsing it very well with water and blowing it dry. I haven't decided if I'll use my leaf blower for this or a hairdryer, but I'm thinking the leaf blower because it's a heavy machine. So I'll see you in there in a little bit. Okay, I'm set up to wash the machine now. I put down a rubber mat to protect my tub, and a lot of times I use a 5-gallon bucket to sit this up on, but I'm just leery of this because it's so heavy and I don't want it falling off. One thing I forgot to do was to clean the area of the vertical shafts, and I have this what they called a wheel brush, automobile wheel brush, that was $1 at the dollar store. So I'm going to dip that in my solution, my 30% solution, and I like this because I can scrub those shafts in there, and that whole inside of that upright, and get stuff loosened up and broken up in there. And I forgot about this when I did my pre-cleaning on the bench. Just throw the rest of that solution on there. And then I just take my spray bottle. This is about a 20% solution. It's got a little gauge on it and stuff. And I'm going to start cleaning on the bottom. Now you can already see to the left of the screen where the dirty water is starting to run out of this. But let's just go ahead and give it a good spray here. I do bring my scrub brushes in case during this process I see an area that's not getting clean or something, or an area that I missed the pre-treatment, and I can scrub it with the wheel brush or my bottle brushes or toothbrush, you know. So let me change the position. Let me get inside that shaft pretty good too. Make sure I get some of the cleaner in there. Now I'll change the position on this and then continue. So you see now that I've got the, and zoom in a little bit, here we go. I've got it standing on the hand wheel end, and I'm going to spray the hook and the nose end real good. And I'm going to spray around that tension unit. Make sure I get some cleaner in there. That looks pretty good, I would say. So let me stand it in a more normal position, and I can do the arm. Okay, I'm going to spray this arm real good here. I'm going to work some of the, let me get back here under the bobbin winder. I'm going to work some of the levers and see if I can turn the main arm here. Reposition stuff a little bit and spray again. I like to turn the arm, but you know, when this cleaner starts working, it can get very hard to turn that, and even impossible, because there's just no oil or grease left in any of the bushings or bearings or anything. Then I'm going to do a quick spray of the body, because I've already got cleaner all over it. And I'm just about done here. I don't want that to sit on the paint too long. And I think I might scrub around that upright. The oil and dust and stuff just gets built in here over the years. And I want to be sure I loosen it up so it'll wash away. I think that backside behind the motor was, ooh, it's slippery. So be careful. Is that still on screen? Yeah. This backside behind the motor had a lot of stuff built up there too. Get in here. Around the hand wheel area, you always get a lot of black stuff from the bobbin winder tire and from the motor belt. So I'm going to move that stuff around and give it a little extra attention. Okay, let's see. Can you see all that stuff going, headed for the drain there? Yee! But I think that's pretty good, and I'm just going to need to wash this off now. Okay, I'm especially glad to get that off the paint. Let me reposition it a little bit here. It's a little precarious, but I want to get some water into the area below the hand wheel here. Okay, now I'm going to turn it upright. Actually, I set it up on the hand wheel again to do the bottom some more. One more time on the top. Wow. Okay. So, I'm going to let that drain a little bit here and take out my garden hose and then bring in my leaf blower and get ready for drying. Alright, I've let this drip dry for a couple of minutes, and I'm just going to leave it in there. I'm going to use my leaf blower to dry it. And I want to get it very, very dry. So the whole thing, you know, if it takes 10 minutes or whatever, I'm happy to do it. And you can use a hair dryer if you prefer. But when I'm running this, it's super loud, so I'm going to try and use my software when I edit it to cut out most of the noise. Okay, I've gotten the nose dry. I'm going to keep working on the top here. And finally, I'm going to do the bottom of the machine here to dry it well. Okay, I think Stella's dry here. So I'm going to move her back to my workbench because now immediately I want to get a light coating of oil on all the metal. So let me take her back there and set up, and we can do the oiling. Man, oh man, is Stella clean. Wow. Okay, so she's clean and dry. And I want to get oil on all of this metal to prevent any flash rust. And what I've started doing now is just using a Singer or any good quality sewing machine oil to do this oiling of all the metal and the shafts and bars and so forth. And then I used my Tri-Flow oil to go into the bearings and bushings. And by the way, this is still turning pretty good, but don't be surprised if it's very stiff. And don't let that worry you, because until you get oil back in the bearings and bushings, it might be kind of stiff. But I just have another kind of soft paintbrush, and I'm just going to start going around, and on all of this metal I want to put a nice light coating of oil so I don't get any flash rust. Now if I do get rust before I can get to this, which has happened, I've had phone calls or get sidetracked with the grandkids or something, and come back and there's been some flash rust. I use a product called the Must for Rust. It's also made by Rust-Oleum, and I just buy all these products at a nearby Home Depot. It's about a mile from where I live, so it's real convenient. And I put on the rust remover just like this, and you just brush it on and it just eats the rust right off quickly, and then I'll brush oil on. So I want to get down in here as far along those shafts too as I can reach, and I'll do the same from the back, the side, the bottom, whatever I can do to get oil in here. Okay, and I think my next video after this, I'm going to show all the oil points for Stella, since she's all clean now, and then at that time I can show you all the factory recommended oil points, and if there's any grease points, then maybe some that I would recommend that Singer didn't. But let's see if I can tilt Stella up now and get into this nose. And is she going to stay upright for me? Yeah. So I think you're getting the idea here where to get oil on the shafts and the counterweights and the needle bar, presser bar. You know, the chrome you don't need to oil so much because it's like triple plated chrome. Well, it was in the 50s and 60s. This chrome on here looks good, so I mean, if you can oil it if you want, but I don't usually oil the chrome. So it looks like it got pretty clean. We'll know more in the future here. Get this screw out here a little bit. Okay, there's a pretty quick light coat of oil on all the metal of the top arm and the nose. Let's go down here around the hook area. Open this. This is some kind of a plastic, so no need to oil plastic. Let's get in here though and oil the hook race and the hook, and there's a counterweight back there, and we'll get around in here and oil all this. And you can be generous, you know, and if you spill some oil, don't worry, because we've got a long way to go before we're finished, and extra oil can easily be wiped up with a cloth, oil rag, or Q-tips or whatever. I don't like to leave a lot of excess oil on the machine because it's my opinion it just collects dust and lint can absorb moisture. Not a big deal here in the desert, but for those of you who live in humid or tropical climates, you know that lint can absorb moisture and have it sit there on the metal parts and make rust. So let's turn this over on the top carefully. This is going to stay up here. I don't think so. I think I'm going to have to support her up here. Now normally you could just lay this on the back side, maybe put a rolled up towel or wood block like me under it so you can see it good. But I'm just going to come along here, and all of these metal parts, just put some sewing machine oil on. Boy, is it clean. I'm very happy with that Krud cutter. I was just at Home Depot, and I had tried other cleaners, and I happened to be looking at their cleaner shelf, and something my wife asked for the kitchen, I think Barkeeper's Friend or something, and I happened to see this a spray bottle of Krud Kutter Cleaner and Degreaser. I said, oh, what's this? And I read about it, and I bought the spray bottle and came home, researched it more online, you know, for the safety data sheet and this kind of stuff. I said, wow, this sounds like something might work. So the first machine I did was an old 600E that was kind of a parts machine, and I just sprayed it on. I think the spray bottle was about 25% solution, I'm guessing. And wow, it did clean very well. But I left it on that white paint on the 600. I left it on there quite a while, and it did kind of dull it. So that's when I said, oh, okay, got to be a little careful with these enamel and acrylic paints. And if you watch Cute, I don't recommend it so much on black finish singers, the older iron black with the decals and stuff. I'm very careful about getting that on the finish. My 99K was made in 1956, and I don't think it's the same as some of those machines made in the, you know, 1900. And a viewer told me she took a class, and the instructor told her they used an asphalt base for that black, asphaltium or something like that, and then they put a lacquer over it, like they put decals and then lacquer and things like that. So be careful. If the machine you want to do is black, be real careful with that. But I cleaned the inside of Cute with Krud Kutter, and it was very successful for that black 99K. I think I've got a light coating on everything, so I think I'm going to call it quits for this video right there. I'm sure this is getting long. My videos tend to run long, and whoops, I think I will go inside there and put a little bit on the feed regulator slide block. If you look in there, you'll see some parts in the top of those shafts, so you can see more metal. So basically any bare metal there, you just want to put a nice, I better do the end of the arm shaft here too, where the hand wheel goes, now that I'm thinking about it. And let's see what's in this little hole. This hole in the body, I think, is going to end up being to work on that feed regulator system or something. It's like an access port. But I can see some shafts in there. I'll put a little oil on there too. The side of the regulator, stuff like that. Yeah, I think I'm going to call it quits on this. The 7 screws method of doing a wash and clean on Stella, the Singer Model 237, with very, very little, in my opinion, dismantling. And the next video that I do for Stella is going to be just all the lubrication points, you know, just getting. Oh, I should rotate that shaft. I see a couple spots on the main arm that I didn't get oil on. I kind of did the top and sides, but I didn't turn it to get the bottom. Okay, that looks a lot better. Look at that. I haven't even done the bushings or bearings or anything, and look how easy it's turning already because it's so clean. She is very clean. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you can come back next time about all the places to lubricate a Singer Model 237. Take care.